Hello, everyone. Welcome to MSP Unplugged. I am your host, Paco LeBron. This is the place to learn how to run your IT service business, whether you're a one-person shop or leading a team through the journey. This is the place for you. Let me go ahead and introduce my co-host, my partner in crime, Mr. Rick Smith over at Renactus Technology. Rick, how are you today?
I'm doing good, Paco. I'm doing good. Day 2 here at the Channel Partner Summit and having a good time, hanging out here at the Super Ops AI Forum. So all's good. All's great.
Very good, very good. Now, as you heard, we are on location, so we're doing things a little bit differently. Normally, we would have our guest in the green room, but I'm super excited to go ahead and introduce Michelle Acardi, who is the CEO of Liongard. Michelle, how are you today?
I'm doing great.
Perfect. So we're going to dive into Michelle's story, talk a little bit about Liongard, but most importantly on the big thing that's going around nowadays. Nope, it's not AI, it's automation. But before we go into that, I want to thank our sponsors, Super Ops. Super Ops is the AI-powered PSA and RMM platform designed for fast-growing MSPs. They provide a lean and powerful way to engage with their clients and grow your revenue. Head over to our link in the show notes to start your trial. But I also want to go ahead and talk about one of my favorite things, Mr. Smith, and what that be?
That's TechCon Unplugged 2024.
That is right. We are on our 5th annual TechCon Unplugged that will be in the greater Washington, D.C. area, September 12th to the 14th at the hotel at Arundel Preserve. It's going to be a great annual family gathering. You'll be able to join like-minded business owners for a weekend packed with resources to help your IT business thrive. Your tickets are going to include not only 25 plus educational sessions, we're going to have 2 great networking events and Saturday night social. Also, all the expo hall, meals, refreshments, happy hour is going to be included in that admission. But most importantly, you're going to be able to walk away with concrete action items to take your business to the next level. Head over to techconunplugged.com for your tickets today. All right. Michelle, I want to appreciate your time for coming out and talk a little bit about your story, a little bit about Liongard and everything, all things automation and more. But before we go into all that, why don't you tell us a little bit about kind of your story, how you kind of came to the space and how you found your way to Liongard?
Sure. So I've been in the technology space a long time now, going on 28 years. I don't like that to date myself, but I started my career at CA Technologies, formerly known as Computer Associates, now known as Broadcom. I spent 17 years there in various sales, marketing, and operations roles. From there, I became Chief Marketing Officer of a unified communications service platform called Star, and then wound up becoming COO and eventually president of that organization. Sold that organization in 2021 in a mix of divestiture to Comcast and to Sangoma in a transaction valued at just under $500 million. I had the pleasure of being the member of a board of an MSP called Logically at the time, and they asked me to step up and take the CEO role at Logically. I spent 2 years there helping to buy and integrate over 14 acquisitions. So it was great fun learning from the other side. I'd been a vendor selling into the MSP space for what was that, 26 years, and had the opportunity to again step into a CEO role, really integrating and learning how to operate an MSP. Wonderful experience, but one that told me, I really love the growth engine of being on the software and vendor side and taking all of that into what I'm doing now at Liongard. And I really fell in love with Liongard because there were so many things that I experienced and saw happening with my peers around how they got operational efficiency and how they were dealing with cyber risk that I thought Liongard could really help to solve.
Gotcha. It's funny because I want to unpack that because there's a couple things there. One, the fact of that we always hear MSPs joining the vendor side and they say the dark side of going there. You've actually had the reverse where you came from the vendor side, went to the MSP space and back to the vendor. What were some of those learning lessons that you felt, you know what, this is great, but I really want to make sure that my impact is on the vendor side because I can maybe spread the love more, be able to impact more lives in that with a specific tool. What kind of made you feel that the vendor side is really your calling for home?
Well, I'm a growth-oriented executive.
Yeah.
Wherever I'm at, I want to really focus on how we can grow the business.
Okay.
And MSPs are valued on EBITDA. Now, growth is a part of EBITDA,
Sure.
but getting operational efficiency is a much bigger part of being an MSP in many cases. So for me, I really learned that if I want to have my 10x capability, it's providing services that allow you to be more operationally effective and efficient and more secure, leveraging the capabilities that are going to help you then also grow. That's where I really found my 10x, and that's why being a vendor really makes sense for me.
You know, I think that this is a great piece to kind of tie in, is the fact that not only did you have that lens as running an MSP, well, a large MSP, and doing those acquisitions and understanding the details and the stories of not only just the MSP you were operating, but those that were being acquired, and now having that lens going back to the vendor side and really diving in. And I think we had a conversation, I think it was either yesterday or the day before, on how the perspective of Liongard, in my opinion, has shifted to a point where Liongard now is getting to a point where it's really understanding, like you just mentioned, the growth and understanding how to really find the piece that MSPs are not thinking about, and really focusing on the fact that, hey, there's so many things that we need to really keep track of, and there's an ability to do so in a more smarter way, not a harder way as well. Rick, you know, I know you've heard of Liongard before, and a lot of the stories that we've mentioned about really making sure that we keep on track of things. You know, can you speak to the point of your perspective of how MSPs are trying to keep track of things right now and why this is something they need to pay attention to?
Yeah, I love how we have these conversations as things that I'm going through at the time, and you throw it to me. But definitely, it's really that whole, you know, we talk about being efficient. We have to have processes. We need to basically know where we're going and understand what we're offering and what we're trying to do. And then that is really that whole part of it that we're all trying to get a grasp of, right? Not just it's I'm not gonna say easy, but getting a product, implementing it, giving it to a customer is one thing, right? But having that efficiency in the steps so that those things are done quicker, easier, you know, more efficient is where the goal is. And that's what we're all striving for. Now I know that Liongard takes a lot of that, basically brings up a slew of products together so you can get that information, in one location, which I think is great. And I think one of the things we have to, I guess that first step for us is understanding how those things work together and understanding how to get the right together. And I guess my question to you is, when you're talking to MSPs about what Liongard does, what steps they take, how do you approach that with them about the efficiency?
Yeah, so first, I think I'll take a step back to answer that question. When I first came into Liongard, it was really everyone we spoke to, we talked to about that operational efficiency message. But when I looked at what Liongard really did, it was so much more than that. Yes, being able to continuously monitor over 83 different platforms is a huge operational efficiency benefit. But another really big benefit is understanding the attack surface. When you've got all of these different tools within, there's a level of risk around your business that you may or may not understand, and around your customer's business. So the way that we like to look at it and talk to MSPs about is, first of all, how do you do your IT asset discovery today? How do you know what's in your customers' environments? Like, that's the starting point. Do you have that? Do you have a good handle on that? And then secondarily, how are you continuously monitoring to ensure that the IT policies you set are actually staying in place, so that configuration change detection around all 83 platforms, because the risk happens when something changes. So I would say to you, how do you know that MFA is in place for all your customers? How do you know that there aren't ports open on specific devices? How do you know these things? And most of the time, what I get is sort of a blank stare, and they say, "Ha, Michelle, we don't know." And so that's where it really starts. We give you the capability to know and to have confidence that you have your attack surface covered.
I think that's such a huge piece. And Michelle, we've actually just came off of a session and panel talking about how important cybersecurity is. And a lot of people just don't understand that, if you look at a framework like CIS version 8, literally 1.1 and 1.2, which in my opinion and a lot of other of our colleagues say that is the hardest step, the hardest control to manage, and it's managing inventory, taking inventory of not only just assets, but inventory of everything. Michelle just mentioned, are you taking inventory of your networking stack? Are you being able to take networking and understanding the change management of things that are going on? Are you even monitoring your domains and making sure that those are compliant and having the best practices that are enabled, right? And I think that's really going into the fact of cybersecurity is such a piece where everyone thinks of stacks and tools and things of that nature, but you just mentioned operational efficiency is so important, and is cybersecurity as well, that I don't think gets a lot of attention. So Michelle, really going into it, I've used the word automation, and it's probably not the best word to really say. It's really more of the fact of ensuring that you're just on top of what's going on and being smart and utilizing something to do so. When you came into Liongard and you mentioned the operational efficiency, was there any one true problem that you heard and thought, we can do that, we just got to make sure that the messaging to this end user or to this type of avatar is spoken to, because it's a no-brainer that Liongard can take care of that?
Yeah, I think so. When I first came in, I saw us selling a lot to the service delivery managers, saying, hey, we can save you time, because now you can go in and actually see what changed when you're trying to help a customer through a ticket and make that happen faster. We can still do that, and I think there's a lot of value to that. But I see the value of Liongard really across the MSP. So starting with, how do you generate revenue for your MSP? And I think that that's a really important part. It's a really important part of efficiency and creating growth, right?
Yeah.
So with Liongard, we give you the ability to track things in your prospects. Essentially, if you use our tool, we have a domain monitoring capability, so you could put a prospect's domain in, see if there's a problem there. We have a dark web identity monitoring capability. Again, you could look up a few different executives and be able to show, hey, I'm going to go call on that company now. I'm going to say, let me give you some value, show you where you may have some security risks that you may or may not be aware of. But again, I think when you approach a prospect that way, they're more open to potentially take your call. So that's just on that side.
Sure.
We take it a step further. One of the things that I had talked about is how we help you understand all the assets that you have and what that attack surface is, but then we can map it to these different types of controls. So one of the first areas we've mapped to is cyber insurance controls. So we've partnered with companies like DataStream and Cork to be able to know what are the things that both cyber insurance and cyber warranty will require a company to have in order to be covered. So now in one dashboard, you can show your customers from an account management standpoint, hey, this is what your cyber posture is. This is the value we're providing to you, or this is the value we could be providing you if you bought into our packages in these ways. So again, another revenue opportunity and also a value opportunity to prove your value to your customer. So I think that's, again, the sales and account management. And we always overlook that. We always go straight to the technical, but the reality is you're here to be growing and continuing to grow your business once you've even gotten a customer. So I think that's an important factor. And then the other areas of the business, we already talked about service delivery, but you've got your NOC and your SOC capability, so that when they need to go in detail to go find, let's say there's been a vulnerability that's come out and you need to find that vulnerability. Now you've got one place to go, one report, and you can pull that across your customers and prioritize, what do I need to, how do I go and fix those problems?
Sure.
Again, I think these are all different areas of value. And then last but not least, the financial and billing aspect. So one of the things that Liongard is really good to be used for by the billing and finance departments for reconciling. We obviously are keeping track of warranties and such, as well as licensing counts. So when you marry us with tools like Gradient MSP, you are able to really reconcile that. And oftentimes, some of our MSPs find that they find enough money in savings that way to pay for the solution elsewhere. So while the primary benefit is obviously giving this operational efficiency and attack surface management, you get all these ancillary benefits across the organization.
No, I mean, my favorite phrase I love to use in a podcast is that there's so much to unpack, right, that you have mentioned. And I think the first one I want to toss over to you, Rick, is that, one of the pieces that I heard that Michelle just mentioned is qualification of the client, right? And being able to utilize a tool, because in my opinion, and from a lot of other sales mentors of mine, there's really what they call a trinity of the sales process for a small business. They care about increasing their revenue, reducing their costs, and expanding their market share. Now, whereas you as the managed service provider help with that. And you don't really know what that client is going through until you qualify them. When being able to utilize a tool like this, which is an investment, and I'll dive into that piece in a little bit. But for you, as far as qualification, how important is it for you to get that clarity for a prospect that's coming through? But most importantly, how are you doing it now? Because it sounds like with something like Liongard, you really may not even need to be on site to be able to help with this qualification and have that conversation with them if you have the processes in place.
Well, you know what it is? It's twofold. I'm going to take a step back, first, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of times, I was thinking about what we were talking about, and a lot of things we don't necessarily think to look for, right? Mm-hmm. Or think to know. Mm-hmm. Because again, when we talk about being efficient, right? So if you're not using something that brings it all together, you have this checklist, right? Every day, your tech has to go through 25 different dashboards to look for these things. Some things we on the spot check to make sure there's no problems. So of course, we get alerts and things like that we set up, right? But there's always an easy way to miss something first and foremost. Or you just don't have the knowledge, I'll just use the word knowledge, that either you need to be looking for this or that this is important, right? So that's first and foremost, is understanding. Now, secondly, again, when it comes to prospecting and knowing what clients have, it helps in two ways to do something like that. One, then you make a general assertion whether this client is right for you, right? That's first and foremost, because a lot of us, we get into it, get a client, go through this process, and then we learn 3 months, 4 months, 5 months down the road, we're not a good fit.
Right.
We can't offer what they need, or they can't, they're not willing to take what they offer.
Sure.
So that's first and foremost. And then secondly, in that, it's just knowing then if they are a good fit, the step, what you're getting into. So definitely having something like that to basically cover, I hate to say use this term, cover your bases, but it's really what it is, right? It's getting a whole picture before you step in, so kind of is what you're getting into.
Well, I was just going to say, and I kind of want to talk to Michelle, I think you have a lot of shirts in this show this year, or at this moment as well, that says Liongard saved my what.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious as to, obviously, that campaign. Can you share some stories that you've heard on why this should be a forefront to know that, hey, Liongard can do this for you?
Yeah. So that came up literally. Myself and the co-founder of Liongard, Joe Alapat, we were at a conference, and every time we were in these boardrooms, there would be a partner that would stand up and say, "You saved my assets," I'll say. When we heard it by the fourth or fifth boardroom, we were like, this is what we need to tell the story, because that's the stories that we're hearing back. And one of the things that's really differentiating about Liongard is that we have an 18-month audit history on all those configurations. So let me tell you where that can help. I know of a customer who got breached, didn't have managed backups, and the MSP that was involved, it took them a long time to get that customer back up. But had they had Liongard, they literally could have looked at the configurations of the firewalls before the breach and gotten things running much faster. So it's like an insurance policy for those kinds of things. And that's just one example of where that can come in and help. I like to say Liongard sort of brings left of boom, being prepared so you can avoid having risk, and then right of boom, having the capabilities to get things back up and running and be good, post incident.
I'm such a huge proponent, and Rick hears me say it all the time, is that how do you prevent unplanned work? And there's a whole diatribe that I go through that and what that actually stands for, because it sounds like an oxymoron when you say, how do you prevent unplanned work? And the really big piece about that is I have, there was a fellow MSP that I was at an event last week, and they mentioned that, and we all go through this, where all of a sudden emails just stopped. And so, as MSPs and our service desk teams, they think technical. They're thinking it's some weird thing that happened. So they're going through all the security bases, they're going through et cetera. Can't figure out why it's happening. So he just happened to say, all right, well, let me just jump into Liongard and see what's going on. Sees that the web developer changed the the name servers over because they were doing a website development, which they didn't handle at the time. So the fact that they had something like that so quick to find out and notice that caused him to be able to let the client know that there's an advance fee that needs to be applied, and we all know what the advance fee means. And two, it allowed to save him not so much that time. One, saved his and then it allowed him to be able to look like that trusted advisor, which has been the theme around this past week, and really diving in for them on that side.
Yeah, I think one of the things that when we think about, I all keep going back to this efficiency. When you think about that, right? We waste a lot of time as well. Problems like that occur. We're searching for the answer, and we look everywhere but where the answer is really. So we check everything else. It's one of those things where the internet goes out, and I've done this a couple of times. Where the internet goes out, I'm checking the switches, I'm checking the router, I'm checking each computer, I'm checking everything except for the internet, right? To check and see if the internet itself is like, and it's being able to go back and have that quick answer, I think is what helps us and saves us like a lot of time. And again, this looks like yours.
Yeah, that's what Liongard helps with. That's what it's there for. I mean, going in, seeing what changed. Think about the efficiency that brings for one of your techs, for yourself, for the ability then to map that to things that your customer can understand, and in order to get them to invest more in your solutions. I mean, that's where it all comes together.
No, absolutely. So we're going to take a quick break to hear from a message of our sponsor, and we're going to dive into a little bit about joining Liongard and how is it to become a partner and the lead time in joining them. So here we go to our sponsor for SuperUps. Are you tired of dealing with outdated PSA RMM solutions that come with a hefty implementation cost, complicated setups, and pricing structures that don't quite fit your needs? It's time to make a change. Meet SuperOps, a future-ready PSA RMM platform that streamlines IT operations, enhances customer support, ensures security, and boosts client satisfaction. With SuperOps, you get a PSA, RMM, IT documentation, network monitoring, and project management all in one place. Automation of repetitive tasks, enhanced productivity, and reduced errors. You get actionable insights with proactive monitoring to prevent issues. And one of my favorite things, dedicated support from a team committed to your success. SuperOps also offers transparent pricing, putting you in control of your costs. So what are you waiting for? Try SuperOps today for free and evaluate your MSP operations. All right, we are back. Again, we are here with Michelle, the CEO of Liongard. Michelle, again, appreciate you joining us here live in Vegas for the Channel Partners Expo as we're streaming live in the SuperOps AI Arena. And again, appreciate their sponsorship of this episode. Now, Michelle, with Liongard, I know that you have seen and talked to a lot of partners, but I think that really for those that are listening, maybe they either have heard of Liongard for the first time or really maybe possibly want to know a little bit more about Liongard. Can you talk through to us about how is your partner program? How is it that someone can join as a prospect, learn a little bit more, and kind of the leeway time from them being prospect to client? Can you talk to us of how that process is and kind of what's the leeway time for them to be kind of hitting the ground running?
Sure. Well, it's really quick. First of all, let's just start with how you can either reach out to me directly or you can go to liongard.com/channel program and you can get yourself a demo. So right on the website, you can go to demo. If you don't have time to do the live demo, there's actually a video right on the homepage. You can see a good understanding of some of the value, but then go to that demo, get the live version. We'll start to ask you some questions about your tech stack so we can show you the value and show you how we can do that full discovery across your stack. That takes literally less than an hour's worth of time. Once we've gotten you in, you've said, yes, we'll get you out a quote really, really quickly. It goes as fast as you want to go.
Gotcha.
Ultimately, the onboarding process, we really try to start with the areas that are most ubiquitous to all MSPs. So that'll be your cloud environments, getting those up and going into the system. And that can take, again, depending on the number of managed customers you have, it could take minutes to a few hours. But you're really up and running very quickly. And then as you want to roll out network endpoints, again, it's really a matter of working with us. We have a full onboarding process, but we have customers that are MSPs that are from 20 environments all the way up to multi-thousand environments. So really can take as little as a couple of hours to months, depending on how you want to approach it. We'll go as fast or as slow as you want us to help you get the value out of the system.
Now, does your team have a partner enablement team to help kind of walk them through that phase, or will they be able to kind of take a look at it, break whatever they want, and then reach out? What is the preferred method for them to kind of really engage?
So we have a walkthrough self-service model, but we also don't necessarily recommend that being the way. We want to in fact, we give you an onboarding package as part of joining Liongard. So we're going to get the team, the partner success team, the onboarding specialist, going to get on the phone with you. First, they're going to send you an email. Just make sure we get everything before that onboarding call.
Sure.
So we make that onboarding call as valuable and fast as possible to get you to value as quickly as possible. So that's the first step. And then we're going to do weekly checkpoint calls with you, make sure that things are happening the way that we agree as a team on that call, on that initial onboarding call. We then, again, we're going to get you up and running. We're going to create a training plan. So we, again, have Liongard Academy. So we'll certify as many of your techs and salespeople as you want us to be able to certify. That's up to you. It's a free service to you to get that certification capability. And then as we're going to do QBRs with you along the way to make sure you're successful. We have a great, what we call pods that are around. So we have not only the regional account director who sells you the solution, but an account manager who lives with you through the life cycle of being with Liongard, a partner success engineer, so if you have quick questions, and then a customer support engineer as well. So all of those resources are wrapped around every single Liongard customer. We want to make sure that you're super successful.
I think for me, Rick, and I was going to toss this over to you, is that, I love when a vendor partner has the investment in their own platform in the education piece, especially about their product and how to utilize it as efficiently as possible. Because for me, I can just say, take the academy. Right. And that's the requirement, right? And so being able to onboard a new tech or a service director, et cetera, to kind of be acclimated to the tool set that you have, I think that's such a huge piece, but also having that team behind it to really go through it. Curious on your experience on vendor and what you prefer in that type of model.
Yeah, because my question was going to be, it comes when you onboard a new platform, is usually whoever is working there at the time, that Cherokees. So is it, like if I get a new tech, can I bring him in later to go through the platform again?
Absolutely. It doesn't have to be at the initial time. In fact, we know people are going to change out, and that's why we leave that to be something that's a free service for you to come in and recertify. We even are doing things now that are called Liongard Local, so we're going to sort of cities near you and bringing training capabilities. Awesome. We also, we have a Discord channel so people can actually be sharing across partners too, best practices. We have a lot of ways that people can get up to speed. The other thing that I wanted to mention, especially since we're in the AI arena here, is we are going to be coming out with soon our new AI capability within Liongard that's all about support. We've named it Leo, the Liongard Experience Optimizer.
Nice.
And so Leo, you can ask Leo questions around, hey, I have this support ticket, what's the status of it, so it can be all self-serve, or hey, I need to write this metric to find maybe Microsoft scale users. It'll actually write the metric for you, so it can be super time saving, and again, all meant to get you to be super efficient in leveraging Liongard.
Now, I have one more question for you. Most of our audiences runs anywhere from the solo tech, to some larger 10, 20, 30, 40 shop, 40 person shops, I won't say 50 big shops. Now, is Liongard just as efficient, or just does it fit with that smaller MSP as well as that larger size?
Yeah, so I think that it can fit. The reality of where it's most beneficial is the more complexity, we make that even easier. If you're a super small tech, just starting out, again, you'll get you could get some of the value, right? Showing a cyber risk dashboard to your customer, potentially helping use it for prospecting, but you're not going to get as much of that efficiency gain as you get when you get larger and you have the complexity.
Well, I think the biggest piece too is that what I've understood and I learned is that I mentioned earlier is investment. And I think the fact that, if you are a solopreneur or a small shop, you have the ability of maybe you don't have complex environments, but look at the sales opportunities that are using it for prospects to provide some other MSPs that are of your colleagues that may be trying to put these things together, and you having these tool sets to be able to do so. And being able to say, yeah, you know what, this is an investment that I'm going to take on, and I don't have the complex environments that I need, but it's setting me up so that I can have a sales force for myself and a team to help me. How do I position this? How do I go ahead and discuss this? How do I go to the ideal clientele that would make most sense for this investment of this tool set, and being able to run the ability of a dark web monitoring, being able to show the qualification of, hey, we have your inventory set, and it looks like we got quite a few things that may be a little bit of adjustments, a little bit of help. And even if it turned into project work versus it being managed services, you've probably have already paid for your investment in Liongard to move on to the next. And again, going into that increasing revenue, reducing costs, and expanding your market share, this is a very quick way to do so. And if your security in mind, you have the CIS controls. Inventory, again, in my opinion, is the biggest pain in the butt to try and keep track of. And this is an opportunity to do so as well.
And I guess the other way, I was just saying, I guess the other way to look at that too is it grows with you, right? So as you grow, your ability to use Liongard grows with you, right? So I think that'll help too, because then if you're, I'm an advocate for saying, as long as you can afford it and it makes smart business sense, you plan where you want to be and not where you are, right?
Correct.
So if you can, if it makes business sense and it makes sense to start with something like that, and then again, it cuts down the learning curve later as you grow, because then you just add on, Liongard project.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes you a more mature MSP, even at a smaller size. And I think ultimately you want to be able to grow efficiently. So if you can make that investment, it's awesome if you can. We understand when they can't, and we're there for them, at a later stage as well. So we're happy to help however the MSP wants us to.
That's awesome. Michelle, I want to go ahead and, as we wrap up the episode here, again, we really appreciate your time here. Is there anything that we did not cover or that you feel would be very important for the audience to listen in on, just the fact of whether it's Liongard, the mission of Liongard, or everything in between that an MSP should be paying attention to and kind of moving forward with it?
Yeah, well, again, I want people to understand that Liongard is not just what they may have thought of us for. Maybe they thought in the past, oh, they're automated documentation, or they're only operational efficiency. Those are all outcomes that you can have leveraging Liongard, but the real value proposition is, again, understanding that attack surface and being able to catch problems before they create real risk for your business and for your customers, and being able to prove your value so you can sell more. So you can be more profitable, grow more. That's the value of Liongard. So, put away any preconceived notions and come back and talk to us, because there's a lot that's changing.
That's awesome. Rick, any lasting words before we wrap up the show here?
Oh, thank you, Michelle, for your time. I know you've been busy this week. But thank you for your time, and thanks for telling us about Liongard. I want to remind everybody we will have the link to Liongard in the show notes. And I also want to remind you, don't forget, TechConUnplugged.com. Go to TechConUnplugged.com for your tickets.
Awesome. Well, again, Michelle, really appreciate your time out today, and we appreciate you tuning in this week. Feel free to go ahead and watch the video podcast on MSP Unplugged, youtube.com/MSP Unplugged. You can like, subscribe, hit that notification button so that you can be notified whenever an episode is available. We're also available on every favorite podcatcher app. So if you want to take us with you on the go, we are on Amazon Music, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, to name a few. Once again, we really appreciate you listening in here. As Rick said, head over to TechConUnplugged.com. We would love to see you this September in the greater Washington, D.C. area. Thank you for listening, and we will see you next time on MSP Unplugged.